everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 330. Sorry, I didn't know what episode we were on for a second. We're in the 200s for our mini-sodes and in the 300s for our main episodes. So
there's so much of us out there if you think about it. Holy shit.
I know.
Some might say too much.
Guys, arguably. Guys, I don't know if I would say that, but welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm joined by two California Santas that I was told live in a communist state.
Oh, you must be in Texas.
I think which they also said was the complete opposite of Texas. I was they thought your minimum auto insurance had to be $100,000 because that's in California, because that's just how crazy it is out there. And I'm
listen, Texas, there's a lot that's the same between us.
There really is.
We're
As a man who goes
like cousins between the two. We're like Snoopy and Spike. We're so similar but so different. Guys, hello again and welcome back to Cornerfest 26. Where I take us on a whirlwind tour of 26 mysteries that I couldn't quite turn into full episodes this past year because we're purging the notes. We don't keep them for too long. And this is a wild one because it's being recorded on a weird day because of Christmas, which hopefully you had a nice one if you celebrate. I cooked 12 pounds of scampi. I was just telling the boys. But if you're looking for credentialed academic research or safe, tame family style stories today, look elsewhere because, baby, that's all the warning you're getting today. And I do really mean that. Like, this is a content warning. Stuff that might make you feel weird or sad at points is ahead. So you've
did we do this for the last episode?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, Jesse, I just talked very fast because I was very aware of how many words.
Like, first episode, all the fun stuff. This episode,
trauma.
Now, last time we got pretty dark last time.
Is the last episode of Cornerfest all of us on a different hallucinogenic and attempting to make a podcast?
Now that's a Cornerfest.
Each of us thought we heard different stories about different stuff. Like when we go back and listen. Please support us, by the way, at patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. We depend on you. And this year, there's going to be lots of crazy Patreon stuff, starting with our live show from last month, which will be up and free for members in a few days, maybe even before this episode is live. Anyway, this first one is called KOOMER and OGUIGI. KOOMER and OGUIGI. And like I said last time, this is fan service. And now, before your very eyes, Mathas is going to become our first topic. We teased it a bit last week, KOOMER and OGUIGI, and I can't think of a better way to start off Cornerfest 26, Part B. Now, this is probably the topic I added to the list most recently, since it's directly related to a moment in the John Constantine, Alan Moore tulpa episode. But just in case you don't remember, tulpas are thought forms given their own agency by the intensity with which they are thought up. And though there's plenty of different groups and individuals that create and interact with tulpas, the main group of quote unquote tulpamancers that gave Jesse and Mathas pause last time.
I'm going to make that a class somehow.
Yeah. Oh, it's already, it writes itself, literally.
No, Tulpamancer is going to be a peasant who never levels up, but believes they are summoning actual creatures.
It's like the opposite of a goblin.
Yeah.
Okay. The main group of Tulpamancers that we talked about that you guys scoffed at were the bronies.
I didn't. Okay, I did.
Yeah. And so I thought I'd dig into the topic just for fun to see if anything else was there. And I kept seeing references to someone called KOOMER and unspoken references to something that happened to him when he made himself a tulpa pony, but went too far. Most speak of this man with a dark and wistful tone, like some tragedy from long ago, but it was really just 2012 or 2013, and KOOMER was just part of a circle of brony tulpamancers who, when he decided he wanted to make one, also decided he would regularly make progress reports on his Tumblr like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So today...
I feel like I've actually... read this.
So today, in the spirit of fan service, we begin just as we ended last time with Mathas, this segment's star. He's going to.
I don't want to be the star of KOOMER, but I will.
Too late, man. You're going to be KOOMER.
I'm not a brony KOOMER. I'm an alien KOOMER.
You're KOOMing hard for bronies today, and this one is this is the same one from last time. It's the same quote again, just to get us the context.
August 25th, 2012. So it begins. Am creating a tulpa. It is a being that you give birth to inside your mind. It is sentient and have a conciseness of his, her, its own. Now, I'm just going to read how the spelling errors are. I know they meant consciousness.
Yeah.
The tulpa am creating was originally inspired by My Little Pony's Friendship is Magic. Am a pretty hardcore brony. So I stumbled upon a post on 4chan/MLP. This is how I found the existence of tulpas. And there's actually a whole community on this phenomenon. I have to confess, the first time I found out about this, it really had me uneased. It's so rare that something can distress me this much. The reason for this stress was because deep down inside, I've made up my mind. I wanted a tulpa. However, tulpas are beings that will likey stick with you for as long as you exist, and it's a very serious thing. My original motive has been because, I want real life pony for myself, or it'll be so cool. But I quickly discovered that there's so much more to this than I first realized. Yes, the physical shape will be a pony, inspired by the show My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, because those ponies are actually really beautiful beings, brony or not. And I have reached the conclusion that having a tulpa will transform my life into something entirely new. It will add another dimension. I really want this. I need this. This very Tumblr will let me write and report my progress. For some reason, I know this will help me create a tulpa faster. I remember reading that now because that last chunk feels like he stopped operating on one brain cell and activated the second.
Yeah, it's like Victor Frankenstein, literally. After this, for 4 days, KOOMER just begins visualizing his tulpa, getting hype about it, and he comes up with a pony that he wants to call Stasha, and edits a pre-existing sort of coquettish pony portrait into some sort of visual focus to give his brain something to work with. It looked like this. Let the audience know what we're looking at here.
Man, how do you want to describe this, Jesse? Because
so, all right, imagine a pony, but for some reason with the stylized accents of like a geisha woman.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, and it's kind of I'd say 3 or 4 clicks more realistic than biologically realistic than how they look in the show, I would say.
Yeah, well, there's shading on it, so that's one.
It has the exact same wig as that alien that dude had sex with.
Yep.
And it's just a pony in a geisha kind of kimono outfit. The thing
with a leaf in her mouth.
The thing that I'm weirded out by, and I can't figure this out, and maybe you have an answer, Alex. I've been trying to Google it while you've been going through this. I literally just want to know what the A to B to C is on, I like My Little Pony. I want a tulpa of My Little... there is no...
You want a friend that's a pony because you wish the ponies were real and that you lived in Pony World.
I mean, that's almost what I'm finding out is basically because the themes of the TV show are about friendship and connection. These 100%. People want friendship and connection from a My Little Pony, so they're going to make it themselves. Yeah. But I'm trying to because
remember, it comes sentient and operates on its own.
Sure, yeah. But all I can figure out is that at some point on 4chan, there was a bunch of talk about tulpas, and then somehow that migrated to My Little Pony. And I just don't know what the crossover was.
They must have just wanted it the most. Their fandom was the most pure, the deepest, the most passionate of all the fandoms. They were the ones that found the way to make thoughts real first.
I wonder if there was a wave of tulpas talk again when the first Avatar movie came out and those tall blue people.
That's another it's all fiction. That's the thing that's powerful about fiction is that you get incepted with these ideas and then you start to just decide those ideas are real. And then eventually, who's to say what happened to KOOMER? You know what I mean? Who's to say? And like I say, I get the sense that KOOMER is the type of guy, just from his writing, genuinely, who beyond, just to go along with what you were asking, he also, I think, finds the physical forms of the ponies unironically beautiful. Right? I think that's another part of this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a part of it.
That's what I'm seeing a lot of online as well. The dudes who were saying, people are asking, what's the deal? People responding I do this. As far as I can tell, I feel like we talked about this before last time we went to tulpas. There's a lot of not said horniness. No one's out saying I'm making this tulpa because I'm horned up for My Little Pony. But the wording they're using very much rings to me as this is pervy shit.
Oh, we'll get there. And the way he talks about this tulpa that's going to happen, he talks about it with respect, reverence, all, just like I said, Victor Frankenstein vibes. He imagined 23 orbs making up different facets of her personality, which he meshed all together in his mind into a giant pink ball, and then landed on the form I just showed you for her body, even though strangely, in his original conception, she had a brown coat and wings and glasses. But for whatever reason, to KOOMER, they felt like they just didn't belong. And this was the person that came to him rather than the one that he was imagining. He wishes deeply for the moment where she proves her sentience to him without a doubt, and is hungry for that sign. He's ready to see that moment when that spark of life is felt. By the 5th day, KOOMER feels a pressure in his head, which he believes to be the pony's sentience taking shape. Suddenly, without explanation, he becomes sure that her actual name isn't Stasha, but OGUIGI, which he doesn't recognize as a normal name, and which he believes it gave to itself. He says if she speaks to him, he believes he'll have reached the point of no return. In his heart of hearts, he's starting to feel her trying to cross the barrier just as much as he is. By day 6, though he couldn't physically hear her, he was already able to visit her in an imaginary wonderland space in his head, from which she was accurately able to guess the time, even though he didn't know himself until checking after.
This man is one step away from becoming a chaos magician.
We'll see. We'll see how far he gets into the chaos magic.
Thank you so much to 1-800-CONTACTS for sponsoring today's episode. And if you've ever had that my last pair of contacts panic, then maybe 1-800-CONTACTS can help you out. Maybe it's been worse for you. Maybe you've been completely out or stuck wearing those bulky glasses that you haven't touched in years. And now you don't even have to worry about it because your next set is always on the way from 1-800-CONTACTS. For over 30 years, 1-800-CONTACTS has been the leader in online contact lens delivery with millions of contacts in stock and award-winning customer service. Here's what sets them apart from literally everyone else. They offer fast, free shipping on every order and have over 100 million contact lenses in stock, ready to ship from their distribution centers across the country. Free returns and exchanges means you can order confidently. They even offer unbeatable perks like free torn lens replacements. They provide a way to renew your contact lens prescription from home with their online vision exam, Express Exam. It takes less than 10 minutes and gives you a doctor-issued prescription you can use to buy contact lenses. No other major retailer makes prescription renewal this easy, I'm telling you. Dealing with vision issues is always annoying, that's just reality, but 1-800-CONTACTS makes it less annoying. Order online and they deliver for free. You can even renew your prescription from home. It's simple, reliable, and it saves a ton of time and frustration. 1-800-CONTACTS could genuinely make life easier if you wear contacts. I know dealing with vision issues is always annoying, but this could take a lot of that hassle away. Getting contacts doesn't have to be a hassle. Let 1-800-CONTACTS get you the contact lenses you need right now. Order online at 1-800-CONTACTS.com or download the free 1-800-CONTACTS app today. Thank you again to 1-800-CONTACTS for sponsoring today's episode.
By day 7, a big milestone is reached, which Mathas will read for us.
Man, 7 days. This guy is like a prodigal tulpamancer.
He's moving fast.
August 27th, 2012. Day 7, we tried possession and progress have been made. It was baby steps, but she managed to make my arms move just an inch. I could feel her energy flow in my arms, causing them to move. It was a curious feeling. When I told her to work on my other arm, that energy drained and entered my other arm. I told her to move my index finger and she managed to get one muscle to move upward. It's major progress, and I know it wasn't me. I feel as if the seeds has been planted. Thanks to the near constant surge of attention energy, my tulpa is becoming stronger every day. My man is like self-hypnotizing himself. Is what he's doing.
Yeah, but what's the difference?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Over the next few days, they try more possession, and KOOMER finds that OGUIGI makes his muscles more tired when she moves them than he does. So, like when she's doing it, his arm gets tired in like a minute rather than like a lot of time. They continue to experiment with crossing barriers of inhibition. He buys her a pizza on day 12. Here's Mathas with a little more from day 12 about what happened after the pizza.
On the side note, OGUIGI wanted... I can't believe you're making me. This really is 2012. Yeah. On the side note, OGUIGI wanted Les Sexy Tim. I have doubled and even triple checked, and yes, that was her intent. I guess am quite lucky to have such a forward tulpa. It took place in Wonderland. Imposed sexy time will have to wait until the future.
You see?
Yeah.
It's not that secret.
That turned into jerking off very quickly.
No,
Do you think he sat on his hand first to numb it out so it really felt like it was somebody else?
No, I think that guy thinks he had sex with a horse.
I think it really was someone else. For the next few days, they try more possession, and KOOMER tries hard to see her by imposing her onto his reality. I'm believing she's there and that he can see her. They also experience with letting OGUIGI drive the body fully while KOOMER stays behind in Wonderland himself. On day 18, OGUIGI makes her first contribution to the diary. This is Mathas.
My host desperately worked on visualizing all day long, doing crazy things, ignoring me. But at the end of the day, he spent as much time as possible with me. During this day, I was watching video memories and practicing possessions techniques.
On day 19,
so she seems like she has approximately the same kind of grammar and capitalization habits as him.
I feel like she's got a slightly different writing style, to be honest. But like, I don't know if that's
just my
an affectation or not. Yeah.
This is my excellent voice acting.
It might just be you convincing me with that incredible, you brought her to life. On day 19, KOOMER begins to start feeling emotions with no root in his own experience. On day 20, to give her even more of a boost, even though he can still break free from her, he brute forces it. As a trust exercise, he and OGUIGI both agree to sign a contract which lets OGUIGI stay in KOOMER's body until she is satisfied and prevents KOOMER from leaving Wonderland and returning to his body without her permission.
Good.
The next
That's
day,
smart.
Yep. The next day,
all things told, pretending this is to assume this is true.
Yeah.
Extremely stupid decision.
It's like it's like very much like Mickey Mouse with the brooms vibes. If you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm, yeah. And the next day, they watched a documentary about a sinking ship together. And OGUIGI's reaction to the passenger's death made KOOMER cry in real life. On day 23, KOOMER discusses his depression at rationally seeing himself do what he's been doing. He has self-awareness about it and is kind of bothered by it. But nevertheless, his desire for OGUIGI to be real keeps him training. And by now, starting to feel like his normal routine. On day 24, OGUIGI steps in to stop him from using raid on a spider. And after chatting a bit, he felt so good imagining he was looking at her and seeing her. He drew a picture of her himself, which is right here.
I preferred if it was he was chanting and started chanting over the spider, just shaking the raid can up and down. Yeah, so, that's about the same, except she's white instead of green now.
Yeah.
And she's holding a fan and not biting on a leaf.
Yeah.
She's showing a lot of horse thigh.
Yeah, there's a lot of thigh coming up from underneath the kimono. This good day inspires him to double his efforts. And on day 26, he spends 7 hours of his day just chilling with OGUIGI, even though he still hasn't really perceived her with his physical senses. He swears that she whispers, "I love you," to him. And he draws yet another picture. Here it is.
It's making me so uncomfortable.
Is it getting worse with each picture? I can't quite. This
time she's
tell.
Naked. She's sitting naked in a chair. She has like a glass of wine.
It's a steaming glass of wine.
Yeah, a steaming glass of wine.
It is literally steaming for some reason.
Wine, perhaps. Yeah.
Yep.
Nevertheless, while cuddling in an imaginary bed together the next day, both of them find KOOMER's inability to see and hear OGUIGI rather frustrating. And as you can see in this other picture he drew, it still seems like she wants him to try harder.
Oh, I have to reload it or something. Hang on. There we go.
She
still
looks
can't see you. Okay, dude, man.
She looks very disappointed in him in this image. She's like, you know what? No, you're not trying hard enough. Not for me anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's just a picture of a faceless human talking to her that says, still can't see you.
Yeah, exactly. On September 19th, 2012, KOOMER reads The Law and the Promise by Neville Goddard, which is from the 60s. It's all about the power imagination has over your real life. And he finds the ideas inside of it very helpful on his journey to make a tulpa. And if you want to read it yourself, it's available for free via a link in the show notes. It's kind of just reading his writing makes it hard for me to believe that he could like understand the book. But like, you know, I'm not trying to roast him. It's just crazy because the book seems pretty dense. On day 32, 1 month into the journey, KOOMER reviews some of OGUIGI's milestones, which Mathas will read for you now.
The following is what OGUIGI wrote with possession. First word OGUIGI ever typed, September 6, 2012. Peck, P-E-K. OGUIGI second word, 2 days later. Hot pineapple tea. OGUIGI third word, 10 days after that. Anon is the best creator in the whole world. Thank for IHOP.
On day 35, OGUIGI was able to chat with other people on IRC and answer questions about the process for the first time herself.
For those who are maybe young for whatever IRC stands for, what is that, Alex?
So that's like almost like a mix between a chat room, a forum, and like AIM. It was like a Discord that you'd have to make yourself.
Yep.
That was like kind of a channel that you could just tune into, and it was just the channel. It was like one Discord channel. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? That's kind of what it was.
I think that's a good way to describe it.
They were like communities. And it was kind of punk. It was kind of like decentralized. Yeah. In a way. Yeah. Anyway, she was able to chat and answer questions on there herself. And I don't have the logs for these convos because they're gone. But we know that letting her drive his body without thinking for that long caused him some pretty bad ergonomic problems. Since she was only controlling and moving.
She was just hunched over in the room, jerking off the whole time.
She was just using his body. She was using his body like how you run around in a video game or something. So it's like she's not connected to the experience of using the body. So she kind of fucked him up a little bit, like his posture and stuff.
She's got tank controls.
Yeah, exactly. And so the next day, as a next step, they tried intermediate body control. And here's Mathas with a quote about what that means.
Intermediate body control. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, today we reach a stage in possession where OGUIGI can control any one of my parts well enough that she can control my whole body. OGUIGI can make my body walk, and she can perform simple tasks such as opening doors, sitting down, and using the mouse and keyboard. She was able to prepare some simple oven food that you bake. She was able to grab a knife, use it, punch holes into the plastic bag, then used my hands to pry them apart. She poured the food content in a tray and place it in the oven. This whole process took about 8 minutes. I finished the rest of the cooking process myself. And for the first time, I told OGUIGI, okay, here's the computer, do whatever you like. Now she's still slow with controlling the keyboard and mouse, so she worked with the tabs that was already opened. The first thing she did was go to 4chan/MLP. She thinks ponies are cute. Being a pony herself probably influenced that by a lot. The Tulpa thread got her interest and she browsed the post and comments. Yes, it was slow, but at a manageable speed. And she listened to I'm adding a the when there isn't one and there should be one. And she listened to 2 music tracks. This lasted for about 20 minutes before I decided that it was enough for one day and took back control.
So that was 20 minutes of her on the internet, basically. Next day, on day 37, OGUIGI expresses her curiosity about the physical world and goes into a bit more depth about her plans to take further and further control of KOOMER's body and brings him lots of delicious feelings of euphoria. And KOOMER admits to seeing actual half and half control of the body as the ideal, quote, golden ratio he's aiming for. And so the next day, he lets her play a game called Defender on his phone. And the day after that, a picture of OGUIGI that he commissioned comes in, which looks like this. I don't know what's going on with this.
I know it's just her in a Komodo with her head tilted to the side and a question mark over
confused.
It. Looking confused is exactly correct.
With every bit of art you send, I am reminded that it's called My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Ponies are not adult horses.
No.
And the whole thing is just real weird to me, dude. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what part of the pony is hot. Is it all of the pony that it's hot?
I think it's the brain.
I
think it's the brain of the pony.
It's the brain of the pony.
I think it's the way the ponies
I genuinely believe
Okay.
they fell in love. Like, I don't know if it has a lot to do with the ponies, but I think it has a lot to do with like they fell in love with a character, like the character trope, or like that's the funny one, or that's the speedy one. You know, like
what else is speedy? The Flash. Okay,
that's true.
Go
Sure, there's
the
definitely
Flash.
horned up people for the Flash out there
That's
too.
very true.
I fucked
actually.
the Flash.
See,
I fucked the Flash. I fucked the Flash.
And so it's like tulpas are weird. This is supremely weird.
It's
like it is. Like I'm gonna call out every tulpa haver. That shit's weird. It's weird.
There's a cringe factor to this that is like overwhelming, but there is also like something to me so fascinating about how in depth this guy went on this. You know, because I think he really did. I think he really did this, and I think that's really.
You think he made a tulpa?
Well, I think
as much as anybody ever has. As much as anybody ever has, I think he did.
Okay, I was about to say, I don't know that I buy all this, but
if he convinced himself, is that not a success in and of itself anyway?
Yeah. No. This is one of those like
if you drive yourself crazy on purpose.
I don't know. A little less tulpa, a little more conversation, I feel like is what we need these days.
A little more action. But there's action, trust me. On day 40, after another IRC.
A lot of coomering.
Yeah. Another IRC Q&A goes down. OGUIGI manifests the ability to help KOOMER block out and like mute painful memories of his past and displays an almost obsessive drive to be seen since she believes that once he can see her, everything else will come naturally. On day 41, OGUIGI masters the walk cycle of a human body like she was playing baby steps and reveals that, quote, she have also been passively learning how to speak with my body, even though she wasn't fully ready to do it yet. On day 42, she tries drawing and running with mixed results. I tried to lock down the picture she drew, but I couldn't find it posted anywhere still. While they were jogging, she fell 4 times. Then, out of nowhere, a bonus post is posted 12 hours after the previous one, which was very shocking for a lot of people, and which Mathas is going to read for us now.
October 3rd, 2012, bonus. Married. It happened quite a few days ago, but I waited a few days for it to be official. Back in my wonderland, me and OGUIGI was pronounced husband and wife. We each exchanged rings, and we both now wear them. OGUIGI made me a golden crystal ring. I made her a hoof ring. I drew this picture to celebrate the event.
KOOMER, if you're listening to this and you have the picture you drew to celebrate yours and OGUIGI's wedding, please post it at r/Chilluminati on Reddit.
Can you?
I would appreciate
also
that.
Draw me what the first wedding night looked like as well.
How about we never talk about that?
I don't want to know about the wedding night. You can DM Mathas about the wedding night.
No, put it on the Reddit. There are others interested, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, DM him on the Reddit. On day 43.
No, don't just put it on the Reddit publicly.
Right.
Okay.
Don't do that. On day 43, she ate some honey garlic chicken as her first ever meal, feeding the body. And they focused on improving speech function. Here is Mathas with a quote about improving speech function.
Today, OGUIGI have done a lot of improving with speech. And today, on top of finally being able to mesh short sentences together, while some words are still fragmented, OGUIGI has adopted a voice signature. What this means is when she is speaking, What this means is when she is speaking, she changed my voice. This voice is more feminine. So much more feminine. You should have heard it when she spoke. I must confess, it was very kawaii/cute. Never knew my masculine body could speak this way. This is what happens when a female tulpa possesses a male body. I told her if she spoke to anyone else with that voice, I'd be instantly assumed ultra gay, capitalized ultra gay. I told her that it's okay to speak this way if it's just us two, or with she is speaking to someone that knows her true identity. I suggested that tomorrow she trains on a second, more masculine tone, and she agreed.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in this guy's mind.
Can't be seen as ultra gay.
I think there's just a lot of stuff going on in his mind, and he's using this tulpa to explore a lot of different things.
Yeah, it definitely comes off as like somebody who needed some form of like therapy or some form of like
just self-assessment.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is, I mean, it's better than this than shooting up a school. So, keep going for it.
On day 45,
those are only options?
This is just my two extreme options for it.
In America, a lot of people take that option. On day 45, OGUIGI can even keep his eyes from looking elsewhere. She has full control over his attention while watching TV. KOOMER likes how this makes him feel, though. On day 47, OGUIGI did a 90-minute live interview on a private stream and discovered their type of relationship and possession ability was more rare than they expected. Over the next few days, KOOMER finds himself getting bored of being possessed and is afraid of what's going to happen when KOOMER fully switches places with her and temporarily leaves the body entirely. On day 49, OGUIGI starts to attempt possession while KOOMER is asleep. When he wakes, he and the pony have a chat with which Mathas will read for us now.
I can't imagine him getting bored, by the way.
Just being locked in a brain? You know what I mean?
I guess, yeah. Maybe you should have thought the contract through, my boy. I asked OGUIGI 2 questions regarding switching. OGUIGI, do you like men? She said, yes. Are you going to make my body gay? She said, don't know. Oh, shit. OGUIGI really is my anima. I should have figured my body turning gay would been a side effect from switching with it. After I asked this, OGUIGI said she wished I was a girl. I told her, don't be silly. There are many advantages to using a man body over that of a woman. Needless to say, my words did not sway OGUIGI wanting my body to be a female. The second question, OGUIGI, what will do if for any reason I refuse to switch back? She said it would be very unfair and she wouldn't like it. However, she said that if it came down to it, she will adopt and still love and care for me. Aw. I reminded her that I would never take advantage of her like that, and there seems to be morale issues with having your tulpa completely living out your life for you. And she said she understood.
But I'm not sure that she did. And this is another one of those turns in the story I was talking about last week, by the way, where the audience should suddenly be realizing how invested in the story they are right about now. Because it was around this time that the pony started getting really frustrated with being a tulpa at all and yearning for an imagined better life in the real world. Here's Mathas with a little more.
I asked OGUIGI, do you plan on replacing me? She said she wanted to become the dominant personality of the body, but she said that only if I wanted her to. She keeps on claiming how she would do almost everything better than I can, and that she would still love and care for me till the end of time. Wow, an extremely tempting offer. After an hour of this, she calmed down and I took back control. And for the first time in my entire life, I drank some alcohol on my own accord. This is the way things are supposed to be. She will be able to do more than I can, but it's all just happening so fast. Fuck.
Almost immediately, he begins going to sleep and leaving OGUIGI in the body overnight because, again, to him, it feels good to do this. He tries experimenting with Oxy and suddenly starts manifesting himself in Wonderland as a pony.
Yeah, so this is very much spiraling into mental, like unaddressed mental issues and self-reflection. The fact that he started drinking and now is trying Oxy, is a
super fast.
Yeah, I don't know if the mental illness started.
Yeah,
it's been around for a while.
No, it's been around. This is just the way he's like. This is the outlet he ended up having at this time, which is traumatic. Now I feel bad. Now I feel bad for this man.
The level of cringe is so high.
I warned you.
It's physically hurting me. Like
I warned you.
Like if this was anything where I wasn't obligated to be here, I would be like, I have to go.
I warned you.
I can't. It's too much.
We're almost through. Almost immediately. He tries the Oxy. He starts manifesting in Wonderland as a pony. He accepts the name KOOMER, which OGUIGI refers to him as his one true soul name.
I'm sorry. It's got like mushrooms. Do anything other than Oxy, to manifest yourself in Wonderland.
Dude, I agree. You shouldn't do Oxy at all. As his one true soul name.
What a choice.
Look, he took KOOMER over the name his parents gave him. That's the point that I'm trying to make. By November, she's possessing his body for days at a time. During one of these tests on November 5th, OGUIGI gave KOOMER back his body for 15 minutes to stretch and move around a bit, and they both agreed that after so long without a body, KOOMER seemed to be having more trouble controlling the body than OGUIGI was. She figured in a few weeks he would no longer be able to wrest back control even if he wanted to. And then, finally, on day 81, it happened. KOOMER decided that he'd like one day alone in his body without OGUIGI around, which she happily gave, and then he'd give up control of his body to OGUIGI forever. During that day alone, he wrote this note, which Mathas will read for us now. I'm going to give it to you in 2 pieces.
I don't think I will be posting any more updates on a day-to-day bias. It simply isn't possible anymore. Because of the progress of my tulpa or OGUIGI, I won't be in control of this body any longer. Instead, future updates and posts will be made by her directly, and any post by me will be proxy, OGUIGI writing for me. OGUIGI have been using my body more and more as she became more developed, and for the past week and a half, she been using the body almost all the time. For this week, I was only in control for about maybe 7 hours in total. From about this moment onwards, OGUIGI is pretty much going to use my body all the time. The only time I'll use the body is when we are experimenting. It's funny how real this all became. I would have never believed any of this was possible a few months ago. In order to get this far, I really had to open up everything to OGUIGI, not holding back anything. I trust her with my life and my faith. Well, some people have warned this could only go wrong, but where did they get the first-hand experience? Just using intuition isn't enough. Many people think what we are doing is controversial / morally wrong / taboo. OGUIGI seriously do intend to take over my physical life, and that's exactly what we both want. There really is no going back. Heh, I said something like that back on the 5th day of my log. This time it's for real. I can't really brute force back control anymore. OGUIGI possession is ridiculously strong now. We actually did a test to gauge her control. I remember the effort it took for me just to brute force control of my index finger. I had to summon rage and absolute focus to pull that off. I was in control of my index finger for a few seconds before OGUIGI simply reinstated control. Plus, doing the stunt gave me a bit of nausea. I can't even control the eyes anymore. To put it all together, if OGUIGI wants to control the body, I can't or / won't stop her. This is how it's going to be for now. It's not bad. I will still be around, but my life and the way I perceive it will be different. If this worries some people that are reading this, please do not be afraid. All tulpas are unique and have different personality and goals. OGUIGI will still be in the tulpa community. You will find her and contact her in this Tumblr or at tulpa.info. And OGUIGI is all for openness and knowledge. If any scientist or researcher wants to contact us, then go for it. Now it goes back to OGUIGI speaking. My hosts have done a wonderful job taking care of me, providing me with a endless waterfall of attention / energy and love. We are not quite done yet. I still need to get my host into a tulpa-like state. I will take good care of him. It would be both the end and the beginning for him. I will post another log post next weekend. Yeah, the tulpa still very much speaks very brokenly like he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the same brain.
Yeah.
Of course, at this point, the attention was getting.
Jesse, how you doing? Are you planning your own tulpa right now?
No. I just
you could create your own
so
Final
goofy.
Fantasy 14 Lalafell tulpa.
It's so goofy. The whole idea of I thought Chaos Magic was goofy. Tulpa's still just as goofy. It's supremely just. All right, let's see where this goes. I don't want to
should have been giving this guy the princess.
Doing this show sucks because I want to be positive and hey man,
KOOMER, come
do
on,
your own
man.
thing. It's all right to have your things and everyone has their thing, but sometimes I just want to be what's the matter with you? What are you doing? This
is also 13 years old. You know,
I think part of it though, I think the exact feeling that you're feeling right now is why this got so viral for a minute. You know what I mean? Because I don't think everybody who read this was finally somebody doing what I think. I think this is definitely an extreme.
Okay. I know it's a weird comparison, but the idea of the reason it got viral is because people are what the fuck, or weird or cringe. It's like that Reddit story of the guy who broke both his arms and his mom fucking jacked him off.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
The story. You've never read that? You've never read that? It was, oh my God.
Or
Jesse,
the Final Fantasy VII house where you're just
Jesse, I'm sorry. How'd you not know that's so old?
Yeah. The Final Fantasy VII house is another one that just fucks me up, right? Those types of weird stories. I don't even know what's true anymore because of how much of it just happens in your imagination. But then again,
genuinely, and I mean this, I'm not shocked about the dude getting jerked off or the guy who's fantasizing about making his girlfriend a My Little Pony character. What I'm shocked by is the detail in which they're willing to share this with the world it ain't no thing when it's supremely weird. What happened to the shame? Like, if you want to have some weird, like, my mom needed to help me jerk off, which is supremely strange, you felt the need to share that, which to me says that's not true. You're just doing this for shock. And I feel the same way here. Like, no, you're just making this up. But if it is real, what? Anyway.
You are right. You are right on the vibe for Cornerfest, by the way.
Yeah, you're good.
At this point, like I said, this was getting a lot of attention from people on the internet. It exploded. Some people are happy. Some people are congratulatory. And some people, even some who were maybe planning on trying something like this were deeply, deeply disturbed by it, like Jesse here.
OGUIGI, other than the cringe factor, again, if we were to put on our believer
even if
hats,
it's real, it's scary.
If we put it on, it's like a weird suicide.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not. But it is.
It is and it isn't. Right, exactly.
Yeah. OGUIGI responds to a bunch of various Tumblr questions, puts the blog on hiatus. Over the next few months, updates are scarce, but OGUIGI goes to college in KOOMER's place while slowly also teaching him how to possess the body from the other side in a similar way to the way that she herself used to do. And true to her word, she remains in the community and even gets fan art, which you can see right here. So this is some OGUIGI fan art from the community you can see, which is like, honestly, like,
that looks like an actual, like,
a lot.
It looks like a My Little Pony character. Sure,
a genuine drawing.
From there, we get to the point where there's fans of the story and the lore of KOOMER and OGUIGI, and whoever you believe is writing now, KOOMER or OGUIGI, is adding like more characters to the Tulpaverse. Like, so Arg Darwin shows up at some point, which KOOMER created by accident while trying to think inanimate objects into existence in Wonderland. And then there's Eric, whom he created while trying to control his old body. He accidentally created another tulpa to try and do it for him. And then there was a third tulpa, more subtle, but supposedly even older than OGUIGI, who appears, called Ronald, who is more associated with KOOMER's unconscious mind, who calls them Mr. KOOMER and Miss OGUIGI. That's Ronald. And then there's a small black pony called Jessica, who, quote, looks like a lolly girl, who acts like Fluttershy from the show, who also appears. These are all received really positively by the community. And then even less formed ones start to appear in response to various questions that KOOMER and OGUIGI think aloud. The world that KOOMER is now in becomes more and more vivid as he disconnects more and more with the concept of having his own body. And on day 259 now, OGUIGI discovers something she calls the pleasure button, which I'll let Mathas explain for you right now.
We made it, boys. We're here. We made it. I recently learned a new trick since the past week. I can make KOOMER just feel good on demand. It's like releasing a shot of dopamine. Really, we just got curious and KOOMER wanted to see if I could do some mind control on him. The feel-good dopamine was just a little side effect of my experiment. KOOMER requested that I try to do it again, and it turns out I can. He can't do this on himself. I have to be the one to trigger it. Since I discovered this, he'd been requesting some of these perhaps twice a day, and I honestly don't mind doing it. He gets all silly and tipsy when I do it. I know other tulpas can do this as well. It's also a great way to persuade your host to do something you want. Mind control success.
They immediately use the pleasure button so much that their headache is so bad the next day that they'll decide to stop using it for a while because it hurt so much that they legitimately considered going to the hospital from a pleasure button hangover. And then by 9 months in, without the pleasure button, it seemed like KOOMER was kind of getting bored of the tulpa idea. And he basically started using his own body again more and more. And he tried weed for the first time, which he felt kind of checked OGUIGI in a way. And then on day 365, exactly 1 year later, he writes that those many half-formed tulpas evolved and became what he described as a quote, immune system of the mind and forcefully took control of his mind. And I think KOOMER begins to worry that all the drugs they were making him do and the bad thoughts and the hallucinations.
But I thought they already took control.
He was starting to convince himself basically that he was having schizophrenia, basically is what was happening.
Well, I'm not a doctor by any stretch, so please, anyone who is more educated in this, does this sound like DID?
What is that?
Dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality disorder, where people come forward and I don't know what the term is, but yeah, that's what it sounds like from an uneducated individual's perspective.
I think he was overriding the drama of it all, though. I think a little bit.
Sure.
Because
it might be, yeah. I mean,
4 days, because 4 days later, he's like back in control. He's trying to kick drugs. He's trying to take care of himself. He drew a drawing of the entities.
So wait,
so he's not gone forever.
Yeah, I thought the whole point was that he was leaving forever, but now he's back.
He's back. Yeah, he's coming back because I think, like I say, I think he kind of the idea of it was starting to. I think the idea of it was starting to lose its power in his mind. You know what I mean? 100 days later, on December 3rd, 2013, he resolves to give up tulpomancy for good. Even though OGUIGI also posts and is less sure that he's serious, and though she remains around and he even draws her again and never once really flirts with her not being real, by day 531, he gains full self-awareness of the identity issues that put him onto this path. He resolves to unbase his life around tulpas and puts OGUIGI into something that he calls hibernation. By day 579, he forsakes being the KOOMER he's been, and he takes his own name back as a mix of his imaginary and real selves fusing and finding some sort of center individual to become. And by day 613, he's back to a normal, healthy weight, and he's on depression and anxiety medication. And he describes OGUIGI as retreating back to an idea rather than an entity in his mind. And on day 745, he writes a goodbye, which Mathas will read for us now.
Well, 745 days later, it has finally arrived. The end. But it's different. Tulpomancy is what's ending. I'm done. Finished. I've been fooling myself with illusions and playing pretend with myself, all while playing around and abusing the way my mind and brain works. The reality is, OGUIGI is a made-up character inspired when I had a major obsession with a show called My Little Pony. I made this character up and gave it life and power by surrendering reason and logic. In the end, a tulpa is no more real than any fiction that exists today. It's an self-imposed illusion with a face and a name. In my case, I was trapped in a corrosive thought maze that took me almost 2 years to recover from. It's time for me to move on. It's over. To everyone else with tulpas, I do not want to offend anyone with this post, but I personally do not believe in tulpomancy anymore. Tulpomancy will not solve life's problems, and I strongly discourage it being pushed on anyone else. In a day or two, I'm closing this Tumblr. Thank you to the people that have supported me along the way. I will remember those kind messages I got when times was hard. I still feel the after effects of tulpomancy influence on my brain, but this will go away eventually.
And that is where I'll leave this one, except to share something which I listened to after writing all the rest of this, which I thought you might find interesting.
Okay.
All of the YouTube videos of KOOMER that are out there have pretty much been removed, except for this one 30-minute video of him explaining his situation to members of his family when he's like already given OGUIGI total control of his body. I avoided pressing play on it for a very long time because I was afraid of the cringe and like
30 minutes of it's a lot.
Yeah, like I thought that I would feel bad when I listened to his body speak with her voice. But when I did, I was struck because regardless of what you believe about this topic as a whole, it's hard to deny that whoever is speaking, at least in that one moment, sounds pretty content and happy with their life. And I think that's interesting. Special thanks to Mathas for all that reading and embodying. And now that we've lived a journey on the edge of the kind of topics this show is even about, and we now know more about tulpomancy and ponies than we ever imagined, this next mystery couldn't be more classic Chilluminati if it tried. It hits all the big topics, and it even sort of syncs with last week and current events anyway. This one's for the fans in another way, and just in case you're not sure what I mean, for starters, it's called the Alien Digest.
I love it.
The Alien Digest was just a neat little UFO newsletter that ran for a couple years, came out with a couple issues. But the reason people still care about it today is because it was run by a guy called Ron Rummel, who was ex-Air Force intelligence, and then this guy, Phil Schneider, who was a pretty well-known guy in the UFO world at the time, on top of working as a geologist for the U.S. government. Have you heard of these guys?
No. I'm familiar with the names, yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, don't look them up if you haven't yet, because this is the topic I was going to do before I decided on Jack the Ripper, before I knew that we were going to have Mark Meir for that day. And since Mathas did Rendlesham the same month as when this was going to happen, and since this one was kind of all over the place, I decided it would work better at Cornerfest. So basically, Rummel was writing under this fake cool name that he came up with, Creston, and to become a full-time UFO.
What was that
researcher.
country singer's fake music persona?
Yeah, Creston.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about Garth Brooks. You're talking about Garth Brooks.
Oh, Garth Brooks, yeah.
And what the hell is his name?
This stupid fucking
the other guy that he made like an album
Brooks.
as God, I can't remember.
The life of alter ego Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines.
Doesn't say it gives me that same kind of feel. It's like that.
Yeah. So Rummel was Creston whenever he wrote shit. He retired from Air Force intelligence, even though there wasn't a clear way that might lead to a living. And after 25 years of compiling information and scraping by, he felt it was high time to publish his findings so that free thinkers could be able to finally hear all the crazy info that was being withheld from them by Big Alien or whatever.
Big Alien. That would be the worst timeline, by the way. If aliens show up and it's capitalism.
Yeah, that would be so sad. So he contacted Paul Shockley, who is the founder of a nonprofit, the Aquarian Church of Universal Service, which basically believed that the differences in the various versions of Christian heaven and God and stuff were explainable as part of a multiverse, and that we can only uncover more by better combining and exploring the relationship between religion and science.
I'm building something right now where the gray place is where all those religions all coexist.
Yeah. He's saying like the Christian God and the Catholic God, it's like Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And that if we looked more at science, we'd be able to figure out more stuff like this. They published Rummel's The Alien Digest with Shockley as the editor for $10 an issue, or all 6 that were supposedly going to be published that year for $27.
What year was this again?
I'm sorry. This was 1993, I think. 1991. Okay. 1991, I think.
Okay.
And this is where Phil Schneider comes in, because he was one of the 7 people, including both Rummel and Shockley, who wrote for this magazine after joining Rummel for a trip to Area 51 in late 1989. According to his ex-wife, Phil was a structural engineer, especially with regard to the way explosions and explosives interacted with, quote, geologic structures. And he did most of his work under a different social security number deep inside underground mountain bases for defunct construction and engineering firm Morrison Knudsen, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the U.S. Navy, operating under something she called rhyolitic clearance. Though, as far as I know, rhyolite is just a silica-rich type of volcanic rock that has nothing to do with clearances. Anyway, each of these magazines is like 25 pages, and all 4 of the ones we have are in the show notes for you to read in their entirety if you'd like. But just in case you're like busy or sensible or whatever, I'm going to briefly give you the gist of what was covered in the first issue.
Or whatever.
And I'm going to give you the gist of the first issue. And for those of you following along from last week, this is where you're hopefully going to start to notice some intertextuality between some of the topics here in Cornerfest 26. So keep your ears peeled. You hear? In the first issue, our man Creston is here, and he's talking all about how there's this alien species out there called the Zeta Reticuli. Remember them from the Apocalypse Planet last week?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. See, that's synchronicity. Anyway, they say that not only are the Zetas already here, but that a large amount of alien abductions were explained as instances of the Zetas desperately snatching up unsuspecting people to experiment on them in hopes of creating some type of human Zeta crossbreed, which will somehow re-grant them their ability to naturally procreate after losing it when they discovered perfect cloning.
Zeta reticulans are your classic grays, by the way. Yeah. That's what your grays
that's
are.
This version of them. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
They thought it was perfect cloning until they realized that a few generations later, each copy was going to be slightly diminished from the last. So now they need us, because having already ruined their own planet and their own reproductive systems, they're going to make ours work for them somehow. So
they're doing a great job so far.
Yeah. So here's Jesse with a slightly problematic quote about that from Alien Digest, just to give you an idea of the tone.
Every theory, every scrap of evidence, every shred of a possible solution that we can drum up must be combined with government organizational skills, as well as monetary, political, and military expertise to prevent the ultimate enslavement of this planet by foreigners of the worst kind, those not of Earth. Working together, we can do it. Working against each other, well, is your intergalactic passport up to date?
Exactly. So there's also stuff in there about a war called the Secret Wars with a bunch of aliens in suspended animation. There's a bunch of
coming to a
aliens.
theater near you in a couple of years.
Well, check this out. Okay. Secret Wars is about a bunch of aliens hidden on a Jupiter-sized planet in suspended animation. And they're on their way here to like defrost and kill us all, which is already similar to the Apocalypse Planet. But that, according to this theory, that is why we built Star Wars, aka the Strategic Defense Initiative, the missile laser system that we have. Yeah. And the base that we've discussed before here in Dulce, New Mexico.
Dulce,
New Mexico.
Dulce,
I don't know. We've discussed it here before. We've talked about it. The Dulce base, Dulce base.
Yeah, we did a two-parter, I think, on that.
Yeah, Roswell event. We talked about. We talked about Roswell. They talk about the various treaties we have with aliens in this magazine. We talk about how the base is sort of the central hub for all that stuff. They get into all the stuff they do there, all the shady government stuff. All that stuff. It's crazy stuff. It kind of reads like an text for like every single thing that Mathas has ever done about this, like aliens on this entire show. Like it's like all that thinking in the 90s kind of laid out, the show.
And that's the reason the show can never end, because I have no skills that would translate to anything else after this.
You just need to, we're just holding on like that cat.
I don't know.
Like
guy on street corner, I think you could do.
Clothesline.
I would make a great guy on street corner
on
holding
soapbox
cardboard
shouting
sign.
"End is near." You got it, dude.
I could do that.
Do you like uncooked cans of beans? Do you like mummy wrapped facial coverings under a fedora?
I could do that.
Okay. There's tons more stuff too if you read these things. Issue 2 talks a lot more about abductions and ancient aliens and the galactic black market for human meat and parts. Issue 3 hits Roswell
Capitalism,
again.
Dude.
It documents official government interactions with sentient alien species. Weirdly has a bit about Hitler didn't kill himself. He went underground to build a spaceship in Antarctica, which we talked about. It's a wild read. Issue 4 is about Christopher Columbus's account of some ships being abducted by a whirlwind in the middle of the ocean. The Bermuda Triangle, more alien human wars, and the Bigfoot UFO connection. And yeah, like, I don't know, reading it, it's not like this stuff is like super well done or like there's like data or anything like that. But somehow the end result is like worth more than the sum of its parts. And without exaggerating, I think what they made was nothing less than like almost like a Bible for people who like think about the world in the same way that they do. It's almost like a religious text that has a lot of stuff in it that they can like build off of. And like, yes, a lot of that has to do with the great breadth of topics it covers on a relatively short, like 4-part whole, which is a good format, I think. In fact, you could almost say it's like an old-timey Oops All Aliens Cornerfest in its own right. And just like the Book of Mormon, there's a substantial amount of people out there who believe that there's 3 more issues of this, which would nearly double its page length and which hold even crazier truths than the ones the government didn't unpublish. But that's only a part of it, because I ask you, what good is a new religion without its martyrs, right? And at this point, I want to call back to the part where I said that this segment ties back to current events, not just because of what we covered last week about the mysterious death of Tron, the hacker, but also because just last week, when Portuguese theoretical physicist and fusion scientist Nuno Loureiro, a professor at MIT, was found murdered in his Brookline apartment under extremely mysterious circumstances, as most of the world was trying to guess which of his insane field redefining breakthroughs he was murdered over. The police were linking his death to the man responsible for the shooting of 2 students in a class at Brown University earlier that week, who was found dead the next day in New Hampshire at a storage unit in a suicide.
Also, there's an episode I've been trying to put together that I can't find the way to do it, where there's a rash of mysterious scientific like breakthroughs and their individuals either dying or just disappearing.
Yes.
And it's like common enough where there's a pattern over decades now, and it's often in similar areas of research. It's
and you know what's crazy? The more time that I witness capitalism, the less crazy it seems.
That's exactly correct.
It's like the idea that people with money and influence might carry out politically or financially advantageous homicides much more often than people think they do is like not off the table.
No,
and riding high from his win with the Alien Digest, Ron Rummel would have to agree. The Alien Digest ran from sometime in 1991 until at least 1992. And by 1993, as it was really starting to pick up readers and make some sales, Ron Rummel was preparing his own book on the suspicious deaths of over 30 scientists who worked on extremely sensitive classified government projects and then were killed. when he was found dead in McCleary Park in Portland, Oregon on August 6, 1993, with a suicide note and a hole in his head, shocking everyone who knew him, but especially Phil Schneider, who went on television and went on speaking tours throughout the next couple years to talk about, among other UFO-related things, Rummel's suspicious death and the similar deaths of other stable, happy people trying to share the government's secrets before being killed. And then eventually, he and a faction of UFO people were confident in saying that Ron was murdered. They built
Maybe
up to
I
it.
should have put that FOIA request in with the Department of Energy.
Yeah. When looking at the police report, they noted that the suicide note.
Jesse's like, I'm not involved.
I'm not even involved with that. I don't even know. To anyone from the government listening?
He's the skeptic on the show.
I'm just a guest on the show. I don't even know these people.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm interested in fiction. I'm interested in fiction and making it real, not real stuff. Hey. No, I'm just kidding. I hope that FOIA request provides some real.
That'd be crazy. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Okay, so looking at the police report, they noticed that the suicide note had been written left-handed, even though Ron was right-handed, and that the pistol contained no blood or fingerprints, even though there was blowback blood all over his right hand. So he was holding the gun, but there was no blood on the gun, but there was blood on his hand. And that's weird because dead people can't wipe off guns. And because they supposedly found traces of sodium pentothal, the euthanasia drug, at the scene. So yeah, Phil would go around lecturing about this and about the Zeta Reticuli and about the time he was caught in a small human-alien conflict at the Dulce base, where he got terminal cancer from his alien weapon burns and regularly threatened that if anyone tried to kill him, he would upload over 100,000 sensitive documents to public servers.
So we covered the Dulce. That's why the name should be familiar, Jesse. We talked about this man in detail at the Dulce base. It's like he was like the main character that was in the middle of the war in the Dulce base with the Greys and the reptilians and all this shit.
Okay, yeah.
So here's a quote.
Like, I dumped that information. I don't remember any of it.
Here's a quote from Phil's ex-wife, Cynthia Dreyer, who wrote a huge post about him on her now archived website in 2021, which Mathas will read for us now.
On January 17th, 1996, I received a call that Philip was dead in his apartment and apparently had died up to a week before his body was discovered. At the time of the removal of his body, his cause of death was by a stroke. When I went to the funeral home, I had feelings of discomfort about his death. I asked to view the body, but due to decomposition, the funeral director suggested otherwise. I wanted to be sure in my own mind that Philip had not died under unnatural causes. A day later, I received a call from the Clackamas County detectives that the funeral director had found something around Philip's neck. An autopsy was performed at the Multnomah County Medical Examiner's Office in Portland, Oregon by Dr. Gunson, and she determined that Philip had committed suicide by wrapping a rubber catheter hose 3 times around his neck and half knotting it in front. There are several reasons why I believe that Philip did not commit suicide, but was murdered.
Yeah, but yeah, both of them now. So now Ron and Phil, both dead, same weird way.
I'm trying to remember, and I don't know if you have the details, but I do also feel like there was potential either evidence that he was like autoerotic asphyxiating himself, and that was the reason that they found him like that.
I think that maybe that was written somewhere, but here's what she says, right? Her reasons are super long. I'm going to paraphrase them because I'm going to keep it snappy.
Sure, go for it.
Firstly, she says no suicide note for Phil. There was one for Ron, but not for Phil. Second, he always told people if he committed suicide, it would be because he was actually murdered. Third, at the time of his death, he had borrowed a gun from a friend because he thought he was in danger. Fourth, all of his alien stuff was stolen, but they left all his gold and money and jewelry and stones. Fifth, against Oregon law, she says he was never seen by a coroner and that no police investigation took place. Sixth, his blood and urine weren't tested on the grounds of saving money because of how obviously it was a suicide and were mysteriously destroyed rather than stored for 12 months as per protocol. Seventh, Phil was missing fingers and couldn't control his shoulder well enough to physically be able to strangle himself to death.
He lost his fingers in the Dulce War, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Eighth, strangling didn't make sense when he had a gun and access to deadly painless poisons. Ninth, suicide was against his religion and he fought every day to live with terminal cancer just to spread his message. And he even had another lecture tour planned and had made plans to write a new book one day before his death. 10th, he believed himself to be receiving experimental injections to treat his multiple sclerosis. But when his ex-wife looked into it, he wasn't on any of their registries, leaving her to wonder what he was being injected with and by whom. 11th, a mysterious new blonde woman had entered his life in the month leading up to his death. And finally, 12th, a bunch of psychics said he was murdered. So yeah, it's super weird. Here's what I'll say.
That's the nail in the coffin for me right there.
Here's what I'll say. It's super weird that a dude who was writing a book about dudes who were killed for what they knew was supposedly killed for what he knew. And then when his friend started saying that he was killed for what he knew, that friend was also possibly then killed for what he knew. And it's all because they published some dank ass alien zines. By that metric, for hosting this show this long, we have all committed ourselves to a back nine written by H.P. Lovecraft and Eli Roth. So we're fucked. There you go. There you go. Just some classic, excellent Alien X-Files type shit. And honestly, even more fun than listening to me talk about it. If you have an iPad or a printer or a PDF reader and some time to kill, flip through the 4 issues that I've included in the show notes. As Alex episode style material, they're great fun. And from an anthropological perspective, it's one of those great pieces of esoterica that people don't even realize they owe so much of their culture to. Anyway, I don't know about you, but this far into the show, I could go for another slice of pie. So let's head to our next segment, which is called Grand Rapids Diner. So I guess at this point, I should admit that I've got a list of key lime pies that I keep on my phone at all times and constantly add to, which is just like good practice, I think, for someone with a job like mine. But also going back to the goal.
I have something very similar.
Yeah, exactly. But specifically for the key lime pies. But going back to the goal of this Cornerfest, which is to discuss the aesthetics of the mysteries too. Last week, I attempted a cosmic horror segment with the Apocalypse Planet. This, when you think about cosmic horror, first seems like a small subgenre of horror. But consider this. I did not anticipate until my mid-20s quite how much people's fear of the indescribable unknown would come to dominate the headlines every single day of my fucking life until the end of time. And now I know, and I will never be the same again. Anyway, Captain Coochie's Key Lime Pies, which is a name based, of course, on the classic Captain Coochie's Key Lime Pie posts we've now discussed to death on this show, are the types of creepy story which aren't scary because of horror, but because of the uncanny valley between anonymous users on the internet, and which seem to be written by nobody and everyone about nothing and everything, but especially delicious, delicious key lime pie, or whatever other super specific thing that it takes to get to the living part of the internet excited enough about it, that all the dark, low-voice mystery YouTubers make the exact same 22-minute video about it. That's how you know it's finally become a key lime pie. To me, these tropes serve the same purpose on the internet as the tentacles and wings and inescapable mind songs of Cthulhu do in your dreams. And when writing about them, you must nail that perfect balance between SCPs, horror ARGs, and like YouTube poop. And this one is about a diner. And the farthest back it can be traced online is to an anonymous 2019 4chan post, which Jesse will read for us now.
You X-Files. X and then files. Files of X. Want to solve a real conspiracy? In 1634, Coit, Grand Rapids, Michigan, was once a popular restaurant called Isaac's that opened shop in the mid-1990s.
Wait.
That's the address.
So it's 1634 Coit, which is I thought it was saying 1634 as a time period.
Which actually, now you think about it, makes really no sense.
Yeah. Yes, right. Sure. Anyway, opened a shop in the mid-1990s. After the owner, Isaac, died from lung cancer, his widow and son kept it running for a few years before ultimately closing down and selling the building in the early parts of 2014. A strange couple in their 40s purchased it shortly thereafter with the intention of turning it into a coffee shop. They painted the exterior, put a lamp in the middle of the building, taped garbage bags. I don't know what those are. Taped garbage bags over the windows, and that's how it sat until present day. It was in fall of 2015 when weird stuff started happening. It was not uncommon to see 2 or 3 SUVs pull into the premise, bring in a group of young children, and then see the adults leave, but never catch a sight of the children again. The reason I'm posting this is because I was just walking my dog past the building tonight when I saw a kid about 10 or 11 pull down a corner of one of the garbage bags taped over the window and proceed to pound on the glass as they're trying to get my attention. I pulled out my camera to get a pic. I didn't want to help them, I figured I had pictures better. But right before the flash went off, he was seemingly pulled away by someone. I stood around for several more minutes, but the building seemed empty from that point forward. The police were called, showed up, flashed their lights in the window, and didn't see anything and just took off. No one is taking this shot seriously. I'm telling you, something nefarious is going on here.
Yeah. So first of all, here is the link to the street view, which hasn't been updated since 2022. Which, if you know how, you can go back in time on and like look at the photos of the same location.
It's just like, I just feel like the kid getting pulled away. You just hear the freaking Five Nights at Freddy's song being played in the background.
Right. You can see, like, I mean, this place looks creepy. You can see it's like the brown place. You see it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you go back, you can like go back in time and go all the way till it really was Isaac's, and you can see that it all kind of checks out. You know, the basics of the post at least check out. And the Armchair 4chan Detective Service then found that the property was owned by a company called Humanix LLC, which formed just after Isaac died and which had 2 employees, who I won't name here, but which supports the account of a couple buying the property. Both a Reddit post and a video mention with some seriousness the fact that some people in the comments were mentioning how Humanix is a kind of mix of the words human and trafficking. But after investigating a little more, I found that they are not a mix of those 2 words. That's stupid. And also, minus the K that they added on to the end, Humanics are the study of human nature and our various human affairs. And in my opinion, that actually makes me feel weirder about the people who named that company than people who would name something humaficking or some shit like that. Though maybe it's supposed to have like a lame, like papyrus font, eat, pray, love kind of vibe to it. Humanics, right?
Maybe.
I don't know. Just a weird, evil-sounding name, does it no favors. Anyway, this company doesn't seem to do much. The main owner doesn't even list the company on his LinkedIn. But a bunch of people who don't really know what it could mean saw that the company is estimated to be making $92K a year and stalked some home address where the creepiest thing that they found was that the people who lived there owned a white van. So then attention, finally, after kind of freaking out, oh, white van, like whatever, that died down. Attention turned back to the location itself and whether or not it was really set up in the way that OP said. So first things first, OP goes for a timestamp photo to verify his story, and he passes with flying colors, as you can see here. Here is him literally going to the diner, and you can actually see it in the background of the picture where he's holding up the paper just to prove that he isn't some guy LARPing, basically. And then pretty soon, the story spread to the Grand Rapids subreddit in Michigan, because that's where this is. Within a week, there's a big active RBI post on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation, RBI. And now there's so many people crying foul of this whole thing and saying OP is LARPing that the whole thing's just set up for clicks, that other people decide they want to go down there and see what's what as well. And I do think a couple people went down there to check it out. But for some reason, the only link I could find was a rip uploaded in May by who else but our favorite mystery YouTuber from last year's Cornerfest, Coop, who apparently actually did ditch a lot of the weird, like, rhetoric that he was trying on last time I saw him, and he started getting some serious views this year, and he is like probably a bigger YouTuber than us now, which is crazy just watching him expand. But huge surprise. It felt like Cap coming back in the Doomsday trailer, except not as good. Hi Coop, congrats on the success. But yeah, he was able to find the video, and at the time I found his video on this, I had already checked all the threads that I could find that were associated with this case, like all the Reddit archives and all that stuff. Not a single stream VOD was saved anywhere except for the one Coop found on a mirror site. I haven't been able to 100% confirm this because 4chan and Reddit can be extremely anonymous places if you want them to be. But Coop also said that nobody who went and did an IRL stream at 1634 Coit ever streamed on their accounts or posted in the diner thread ever again. Here is the video that he found, which is supposedly a re-upload from the streamer Trizrulius, and it really was the last time he streamed if you check that streamer's Twitch. 6 years ago was his last stream. But to skip all the driving and get to the meat of it, you're going to want to start this video at around 4:20, lol, and watch for a bit and give the listeners a play-by-play. But the 2 things I really want you to know are the handprints on the window, which you can clearly see are on the inside of the glass. And obviously, I want you to take on what happens at the very end.
Yep, he's walking up to the building, breathing, still walking. It's just like hard to see. It's just a light beaming into this thing. All right, pans toward the actual building now, and he's walking toward the front door. Yeah, you can see like smeared handprints, like, and as he puts the camera in there, It just looks like an abandoned shop. Like it just looks like what most abandoned stores look like: empty shelves, a bunch of just empty space.
There's very clearly a light inside that's on, and the garbage bags are there, and they're pulled down, right? Like the original story said. And there are prints, but I assume on most glass of stores like this, there are prints, you know?
Sure.
Of people being like, what's going on there?
He thinks he hears a noise. He leaves. And then he
leaves. He hears a noise, and then that's it.
The end feels like...
He goes, nope, okay, I'm out. Like he saw something. It sounds like he starts like moving with speed.
It feels like right at the end, he sees something that scares him, and then he quickly starts running and turns off the camera, to me. And that's what was kind of the point of the Coop video, was like, it was creepy that happened. And also, if you look at the video again, some people in the comments say that at parts you can see taillights on in a car in the lot, which does look like it's there. It does look like it's turning out of the lot and maybe turning around if you really like slow down the video and look at it. And that was somehow evidence that somebody came up behind him and like got him. And you can even look at it slowed down in the Coop video if you want to watch it. It's in the video. It's in the show notes. But otherwise, let's get to where Coop ends the story, because the two things that he said both blew my mind for really unexpected reasons, and I'm going to get into both of them right now. Firstly, he mentions another thing which I thought was dumb. And again, just so the listener knows, I was wrapping up the research on this segment this week. But yeah, he goes on to point out that originally the Grand Rapids area was heavily settled by people with French heritage, and that the road that this business is on, Coit Avenue, can be translated from French quite directly to Sex Avenue, right? So I thought this was a hilarious mic drop. I thought this was like not the like mic drop that he thought it was. Imagining human traffickers naming their businesses after human trafficking and then operating on Les Sex Street. But just
Les
to see,
Sexy Tim.
Yeah, but just to see if any other names matched up with his theory, I pulled up a map of the area to see the other street names and was shocked to find that within Grand Rapids, the neighborhood which this business was located in is literally called, get ready for this, it's called Creston, which if you've already forgotten, was the exact same name that Ron Rummel used while writing the Alien Digest. Is that crazy? That's crazy.
It's a synchronicity right there.
Yeah. So then the real kicker and surprise, bittersweet ending. The other thing that Coop said that stuck out to me was that the place, this restaurant from the pictures, is a fried chicken spot now. And though this video came out in May, after a quick Google, I had found that for a while now, though the Fry Shack had come and gone, and that now the spot was under new ownership as a really nice, cute looking place called Iker's Tacos. And I was going to say something nice about their food, because I'd much rather this episode bring them gobs of new business than some kind of bullshitting Neo Pizzagate scenario like it could. And so that's what I wanted to do to end this story. But after looking through their socials, I have to tell a different story slightly. The people that run this restaurant, the people that run this restaurant are like great people, and their family was beloved in the community because originally, just a couple years ago, Iker's Tacos was called La Huasteca. And for 12 years, the owner, Salvador Oliveros, brought the company, the community, delicious food. Creston brought them delicious food, good, loving vibes, and he'd have his whole family around him supporting him. Honestly, looking at pictures, this is the kind of Mexican restaurant you pray shows up in your town, where no corner is cut. Everything's done the right way. The prices are good for everybody.
I'm like preemptively angry about where I think this is going.
Yeah. Love, 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 love. Suddenly and unexpectedly, Salvador woke up one morning to find that his 9-year-old son, Iker, had passed away in the night. And the pain had to be immense, but the community rallied around the family for his funeral. And they even set up a little shrine at his favorite seat in the restaurant for people to come say hi, even though he's gone, and kind of pay tribute. But then a few months later, another huge life obstacle happens, and the landlord refuses to renew La Huasteca's lease. So with like a month's notice, just after losing their son, this family now has to pivot to catering and looking for a new restaurant location to start again from the ground up. So that's horrible. But luckily for them, 1634 Coit is available, and they start getting it ready. But then another awful roadblock, which I think also might explain why the original couple who bought the place, possibly even to open a coffee shop just like it said, based on the paint job, ran into trouble and stalled, and possibly even why the Chicken Shack was only seemingly open for like a few months. Here's a quote from Mathas to read from WZZM ABC 13 Grand Rapids.
After months of searching, he found a new spot in the Creston neighborhood located on 1634 Coit Avenue. However, he can't move in just yet. The city has specific zoning ordinances for commercial buildings and residential zone districts that apply to the new location. We received an application for what's called a use variance for the property on Coit Avenue. Unfortunately for the applicant, I suppose, the property is actually located in a residential zone district. In residential zone district, there's great limitation as to what types of uses can be allowed, said the city planning director, Kristen Turkelson. The property has been historically used as a commercial building, and the city said there are a lot of elements that make the application for the restaurant appropriate. However, a review by the Board of Zoning Appeals needs to happen before the restaurant can move in. The Creston Neighborhood Association has been trying to help Oliveros secure the building. They want to help him in any way they can.
Yeah. And so now they've got it popping. And if you go to their Facebook page, you can see that this place just looks great. They niced everything up. They repaved the parking lot. The food looks amazing.
Oh, hell yeah.
And their Taco Tuesday seems like it's probably the best Taco Tuesday night plan in town. But you won't find them under the name La Huasteca because, like I said, they've changed to something even more powerful, which everyone in town can get behind. Eat Cares Tacos after their son. So yes, rather than chasing the specter of a long dead internet mystery, with as many unresolved threads as it has, and bringing even one more moment of misery upon the Oliveros family. If you live anywhere close to this spot and you can hack it, get your asses down there, buy like 7 quesadillas, buy 7 big wet burritos each, one for each day of the week, tub of rice, tub of beans, 18 tacos, buy 50 shrimp fajitas. I don't care. Maybe donate a toy to their Christmas charity toy drive that they do. Or donate some of food to their gorgeous community pantry that they have for people who can't afford groceries right now. And tell your friends to do that as well. You know, it's not every day you get to end a creepy story like that. I know I just had my pie, but now I'm hungry for some Mexican food.
Seriously, I'm freaking hungry now.
This is fascinating because there was a story I wanted to do this year as well that was very, very similar.
Yeah.
About I think we've done something like this before. Like there's a lot of stories where it's like weird building. There's one where it was like a daycare center and it like looked really creepy. And like people are like, who taking the kids to this like weird rundown, awful daycare? It looks terrible. Like why would they gotta be like kidnapping kids in there and stuff? No, it was just a very underserved neighborhood and they were doing the best they could. And people were like, why would anyone? It's like, where else are they going to take their kids, man? Get off their ass.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's people without money that need services, you know?
And then what's interesting is that in this case, a lot of the mystery is like, if you go look at the Google map, the minute you said zoning issues, I thought back to that image, and the image literally, it's surrounded by homes.
Houses,
and it's the only thing that looks like a business. And it's like, well, of course that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the kind of story I like this because I got to like make a new discovery about it or add a new detail to the larger like tapestry of information about something. Makes me feel good. I think all the internet stalking that this story requires means that next we need to shift gears from the modern to the historical. And because we've now spent 3 stories in a row in the United States, let's make a 90-degree turn towards Asia, or more specifically, the island nation of Japan in the time before photographs. This next one is called The Hollow Boat. But first, I'm going to turn on my lights. So just wait 1 second.
Technical difficulties music here. I was going to make Dean do it, but it's fine.
Oh, he's
back. This is a quick one. We may have mentioned it before at some point here in the podcast, but I wanted to bring it up again because we've been talking a lot lately about how your cultural background can heavily affect your interpretation of the events there is no context for. So along with last week's Our Lady of Zaytun, I thought this would be a nice companion piece, even though I originally dug it up for the Stories Beyond the Veil episode before I landed on the story of the airships in San Francisco, which I felt matched the brief a little better. And which I could write about more realistically in the style of a turn of the century guy in America. Cause it was really hard to embody what it would be like in Japan in the 1800s. But yeah, I eventually decided I would set the episode in 1901. So this would have been a little too old since as far as we know, this story probably happened much earlier in like 1803. But here's a quote about it for Jesse to read, which I grabbed from the Public Domain Review in an article that was really just there to give context for all these amazing archival images they pulled. And you can check out in the description. But here's the quote.
Sometime in the early months of 1803, an alien ship came ashore on the coast of Japan. Fishermen thought it was one of their own and rowed out to tow this object bobbing in the waves. It was not. The vessel looked like a cauldron, rice pot, or pod. Its bottom was forged from some kind of heavy metal. The top seems to be rosewood, lacquered and inset with latticed, thank you, glass. On the beach, villagers marveled at the advanced engineering, and peering through the opaque windows, they noticed something writhing. Just then, a panel flung open on the hull, and out stepped a being that looked almost human, or so the various sources tell us, with varying levels of contradiction.
I don't think we've talked about it on the show, but I am very familiar with the story, and I really love this story.
It's really neat. And I digging into it, I actually found out a little bit more than I expected.
Yeah, there's some actual real world theories that apply to what this could have been too.
Exactly. And when they say various sources, they mean that there's actually 12 separate sources from the Edo period, which mention the strange appearance of this Utsurobune, or hollow vacant ship, starting with the gossip tale, a foreign woman in a hollow vessel, which was found in a collection of gossip tales put together by Bakken Takizawa from 1825, and says that the being which climbed out of this thing was an absolutely banging redheaded babe whose hair had white highlights of fur sticking out from inside of it.
White highlights
and
of
who
fur,
wore
like tufts of fur,
like Chitara, kind of what are we?
Yes, like Fran from Final Fantasy XII.
Okay,
and who wore an outfit of strange materials, but which was the talk of the town because it stayed tight at the top and loose near the ankles. Here's an actual illustration from that story here, so you can see what they mean about the hair and the outfit, and I guess the vessel as well. You can kind of see the little white thing sticking out from the hair in the back there, and the neat shirt that they have on that doesn't really look that neat to me, but probably was groundbreaking in Japan at the time. And yeah, that thing that she's holding in the picture looks like a giant stick of butter is actually part of the story. It's supposed to be a wooden box that she was said to be holding very tightly the whole time and was very protective of. And anyway, she didn't speak any Japanese, so as the people on the beach observed her and her little tub, and they saw the strange writing on it, which you can also see on the right side of that scroll, by the way, kind of looks like some kind of Stargate type writing there, if you see it.
Yep, it's like a triangle with a circle in it, two circles connected by a line. It's very, it's crop circular-ish.
Yeah. So they saw that. They saw the little water bottle she had and the cakes and ground meat that she had inside the little pot with her. So they saw two carpets, I think. They assume she must have been British, Bengali, or American, like you do. And they come up with their own ideas, according to a villager from the story. And they come up with their own ideas. According to an old villager from the story, a translation of which I found in Gifu University Professor Emeritus Tanaka Kazuo's book on the topic, The Mystery of Utsurobune, from 2009. Here is Mathas with a quote from that. This is very interesting stuff to me.
This woman may be a daughter of a king in a foreign country and might have been married in her home country. However, she loved another man after marriage and her lover was put to death. Since she was a princess previously, she could get sympathy and avoid the death penalty. She was forced into this boat and her fate was left to sea. If this conjecture is correct, her lover's severed head will be inside the square box. In the past, a similar boat with a woman inside drafted ashore on a beach not far from here. In that incident, a severed head placed on a kind of chopping board was found inside the boat. Judging from this kind of secondhand information, the contents inside this box may be similar. This might explain why the box is so important to her and why she's always holding it in her hands. If this information about this incident is relayed to the lord of the territory, we may be ordered to inspect this woman and the boat, which would be a costly endeavor. Since there is a precedent that this kind of boat should be cast back out to sea, we had better put her inside the boat and send it away. From a humanitarian viewpoint, this treatment is too cruel for her. However, this treatment would be her destiny.
It's the most Japanese way of dealing with that I've ever heard in my life. They're like, let's just put it back in the box and send it away from ourselves.
Yeah, just put it back out to sea.
This was in the era where they were very closed off from other people.
And this is the theory I'm most familiar with, is that like it may have been like an exiled royalty who got out of the death penalty for whatever reason and was like kind of like essentially kind of put to death anyway, but by maybe happenstance would survive.
Right, exactly. So now this story was actually attributed in the collection to Bakken Takizawa's son, Okitsugu. But at the end, Bakken also chimes in with his own thoughts, saying that this also kind of reminded him of some Russian people he'd seen who use white powder in their hair on formal occasions, but really has almost zero context for something like this, same as his son, right? So then, you look at a few more accounts of the thing, you begin to realize how this must have hit Japan, because already people who like neat, interesting stories knew about this weird tale of this strange redheaded woman. But once the idea from America of flying saucers hit in 1947 and American media got over to Japan, people who knew about both things started to notice the similarities between this story and these new UFOs that they were talking about in America, including people like Professor Kazuo Tanaka, who, after hearing the bizarre beliefs of the Shinrikyo cult, who attacked the Japanese subway system with a deadly sarin gas in 1995, he decided that there needed to be more science applied when investigating the paranormal. And then he came across Utsurobune in his research. So at first, and here's some images of it, by the way.
I mean, the other just common denominator, their common thought is like the shape in which she was set, the shape in which the craft is made is just the best shape to float on water.
Right. Like a raft. Yeah.
It looks like a UFO, but it's also made to just kind of float. So it's kind of also the most ergonomic shape you could make.
Plus a lacquered wood, UFO top, I don't know is a UFO. You know what I mean? Like that's not making it through the atmosphere.
Some stories say it's all black everywhere on the outside and also black on the inside. But that was also, there was these stories of dark boats that were like kind of like memes to keep people in line about people coming to the shore and what to do and to be scared. So I don't know. And at first, this professor, he thought it was probably just some sort of attempt at proving an old Japanese folktale to be real. Since according to him, legends of this archetype featuring some sort of noble woman from a faraway land who arrives washed up on the shore in a strange dugout boat was commonly passed down like some sort of, quote, ancient national memory of Japanese immigration, in which people first arrived in Japan from Asia in the first place, washing up on shore in similar vessels, right? Because there's the Ainu that were already on Japan.
They were already, they're the indigenous people.
And then other Asian people arrived from other cultures and like made Japan more connected to those other cultures, right? And those stories would be taken and repeated by dominant families in the area to help them, quote, bolster the political legitimacy of their rule and to kind of like, make it all make sense for people who are living there and have like a little story of what happened in the area. But over time, he finds that too many of the details of the 1803 version of the story are too consistent with each other and decides that while this myth may have clouded their perception of what had happened, that these accounts were probably still referencing some type of real world event that went down that day. So what else could he do but track down all the different versions of the story, which is where we got the 12 versions we know about, and see what the hell he could make of it all? Because he's like a Japanese professor working like as his number one research project. And he sees that all the stories are pretty consistent with each other. He sees that the note from the writer's father about the Russian thing, and at first he decides it must be a castaway from a Russian whaling vessel. Then he can't find a record from the Russian side of anything happening to a ship like that around that time in that area. So that goes out the window. And then he finds a new version of the story in the private hands of a collector in the Ibaraki prefecture, which looks like this. So here's this version. And I think this was also the last one that I just sent you, but this version of it is very specific. The figure has a different look in this version, and the vessel kind of has a different look as well.
They have like a veil on, almost like a wedding veil or something, or that goes down the back of their.
Yeah, and it doesn't look necessarily that Japanese. And he notices that in this version of the story, which is actually from 1803 when it's supposed to have occurred, the women's clothing looks similar to a bodhisattva statue located at the Shofukuji Temple, which is also in Ibaraki Prefecture, and which was traditionally a place where people raised silkworms. So it's worth mentioning that Professor Kazuo notes the Golden Princess Konjiki is one of the characters who is depicted all over this temple. And there's one version of her origin story at the temple in which she first brings silkworm raising to the area after washing up on the beach from India in a boat shaped like a giant dugout cocoon. So he believes that this story may have actually been inspired by the same Utsurobune event, but that ultimately there's so many differences between accounts and the cultural context of Japan has widened so greatly since 1803 that it's like almost impossible to see it with the same eyes today as people back then, because they just didn't know that much. And it was much more simple of a thing, right? Everybody's worldview was very similar compared to now in Japan, where they basically got 400 years of Western history all at once and could go through it in any order that they wanted. And so that really remixed everything culturally for them in a weird way. So Professor Kazuo has his theories, and even though it's not definitive, I think at least we all know why this story is particularly mysterious now, and that's all anybody can really ask. And here's Jesse with a quote about that.
It's strange that there are specific pictures of the craft showing it as resembling a flying saucer. It feels it was probably based on something that really happened. But Japan was largely closed off then. So if there was a wreck of a foreign ship or a foreign people had arrived in the country, it would have been a huge event, and a government official would have investigated and left a public document. When British sailors entered Otsuhama, now Kita Ibaraki, oh boy, in 1824, it became one of the causes of an edict to repel foreign vessels the following year. So it might be that there was witness testimony of something taking place for a short time at Kashimanada.
Good job. Good job.
It's possible that this became tied in with earlier Itsurobune legends. There are likely to be further discoveries of currently unknown materials related to the
You almost had it.
Utsurobune and new revelations. This legend is so appealing because it's possible to come up with so many different theories. Having a story like this in Japan from 140 years before American UFO sightings that stimulates the imagination to this extent reminds me of how deep and fascinating Japanese culture can be.
And there you have it. Yet another angle from which to consider just how personal UFO sightings are and what the value is in studying them, whether or not you believe they're fully factual accounts of what happened, because you never know what angles you might find. And honestly, if you have Kindle Unlimited, this book is free on Amazon that I used. So if you want to give it a look, there's tons more detail to this story, to the degree that if there was like a fifth of this detail around every UFO story, we wouldn't even need disclosure because we'd already have it. So yeah,
I'd argue that we do.
Check the show notes if you want to read it. Anyway, let's shift gears, talk about something else that could have been, or could it? This one's called The Dove of Oneness.
The Dove of Oneness. Someone needed someone to bounce ideas off for that one.
So this one's
something else.
So this one's definitely kind of like a weird cousin to last week's Apocalypse Planet segment, again, in some ways. And originally, this was the one I was going to say was my stab at like a Lovecraft style cosmic horror one. But eventually, I decided the imagery of an apocalypse planet was more scary than the angle that I was going to take with this story, which was going to be kind of like the even weirder, older weird fiction book, The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers, where The King in Yellow isn't just this story of this weird, upsetting being called The King in Yellow, but where also in the real world, it's the name of a play about that being, which drives everybody who reads the play totally insane.
Crazy.
It's honestly a really awesome couple of stories if you ever want to grab that collection for yourself. But yeah, in my story, instead of a play, it was going to be about a document upon which was printed a set of ideas so powerful that they could cancel the very notion of personal debt, the need for taxes. It could create world peace, wipe out all the bad actors in government, all in one go, but which, just like The King in Yellow, if you actually read it, will drive you completely crazy. I'm not going to be leaning super hard on that angle in this version of the story, though I bet you'll be able to see where I was going with that.
I mean, logically, I guess it makes sense. If you are crazy, there is no need for any of that.
Right, right. But before we even get to that document, for proper context, we must go all the way back to 1994, where a retired electrician from Mattoon, Illinois, called Clyde Hood, was absolutely fleecing people all across the country with this scam called Omega to the tune of like $12 million.
Woof.
Yeah, basically, the way he did this was just by pretending to be kind of like this low-key, super rich investing genius guy, like a fun guy. And he would make like quick friends with people and start wowing them with his like high yield investment scheme tales that made him XYZ bajillion bucks all over Europe. And then he's rich and he's doing all this crazy shit, yada, 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 until one day, just like that guy who built the church in Zaytun, he apparently had a religious vision, except instead of the Virgin Mary, it was God himself. And he told Clyde that he must form his own company to help out the little guy and make poor people rich all over the country in the Lord's name. And basically, the way he said it,
God, why? Yeah. Fucking, why is God into capitalism?
He's
that
not.
Sucks.
He's not. I don't think this guy was telling the truth because later when he was arrested.
But I'm saying, but in his world, if this is real, like, God, why has he got to make everybody? How about just stop
prosperity, dude? We dream. It's too aspirational. Americans are fucking kinky about money. It's fucking weird. And basically, the way his scam would work is you buy this quote unquote unit for like $100, and then you let it quote unquote roll for 275 days. It's like a little computer or something, right? And you let it roll for 275 days. And when it was done, there's supposed to be a 50-to-1 return on your money. And then each unit could supposedly do that 3 times in a row before it'd be tapped out. And then you could even buy more if you wanted to keep going, or maybe it would be even smarter to buy more.
Hey, is he talking like buying like a program that auto trades stock or something?
I don't know what he's selling. What does he mean? It makes the money hot. Like, how
unit.
does it?
It's a unit.
A unit of what?
It's high yield. It's high yield.
It's high yield stock.
What? Look, you wouldn't get got by this. That's what I think.
What do you mean? It's a high yield unit of what?
Hypothetically, I give him my money. What am I getting? Something mailed to me?
In 275 days, you're going to get 50. Dude, people were sending him cash only. People were sending him
one of those Eve Online scams. I'll double your money. Send me money. I'll send you more money back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just that simple.
But he's like, listen, you pay $100 now, you get 50-to-1 return on it in 275 days. You can do that once, and then you can do it twice, and you can do it 3 times, and then the unit is done. It's cashed. So you can do that and then do it forever and pay $100 here and there and just keep going. Or what would be smarter is maybe you buy a couple units at the top so that you get bigger paydays. And so that's the scam is like, you maybe get 5 units and roll them, maybe you get 10 units and roll them. Cause then that's $5,000, whatever. It spread all over the country. Like I said, until 1998, when it eventually reached completely by word of mouth, lifetime Washington resident Shani Goodwin, previously of the Ramthas School of Enlightenment, whose founder claimed to be channeling the teachings of a 35,000-year-old Lemurian warrior and monk, who had some new stuff to say. What was his name? Ramtha.
Oh, right,
yeah. Apparently, this new age...
Hang on, Jesse. Are you upset because you know those words?
No, I'm upset because the more you say stuff, and the more Alex says... So anyway, this person got suckered in by a 35,000-year-old. I keep thinking to myself, like, we really are the stupidest. Like, for being the dominant species on the planet, we are the dumbest. Like, genuinely dumbest.
100%. 100%. Apparently, this new age cult, and especially its founder and guru, who was this woman called Jay-Z Knight, had spread the Omega scam all through their hometown of Yelm, Washington, getting almost everyone in town in on it completely by word of mouth. And just, I don't know what the fuck happened in that town.
I was going to say, at what point for you, when you're receiving the money of the town, do you start freaking out and realizing, okay, I don't have an end in sight and the entire town I reside in will kill me?
Right. So, well, what kind of person? I'll tell you right now. Shani, her birth name was Candace Darlene. She was born in 1947. She grew up the oldest of 4 children in Grays Harbor County, Washington, where in 1962, she was crowned queen of her hometown's Bear Festival and made the front page local paper. After graduating with good grades in 1965, she was married and then divorced without kids. She moved to Minnesota for a while in the mid-70s to work a boring office job in computers before returning in 1980 back to Washington to work for the Washington Department of Social and Health Services, and then a few other similar computer-based jobs before trying to go freelance in the late 80s, turning to the new age philosophy, Ramtha, all that stuff for guidance, because she felt disconnected from her life and she wanted to take control of it in some way. And by 1989, she filed for bankruptcy. She changed her name to Shiny and worked 3 more years before getting in a bad car accident and having to quit work altogether. In 1995, a judge granted her ex-boyfriend a restraining order against her for stalking. And in 1997, the IRS came and put a lien on her for unpaid taxes. By 1999, Goodwin, who was still living in the Yelm area at this time, began posting on her own website, talking to the Omega community discussing her connections to Clyde Hood, the founder, and other Omega insiders, pretending to have special knowledge, hyping up their big future paydays, which they're now calling prosperity deliveries, and helping people plan their new lives in their newfound, quote, abundance mindset. Even sprinkling in herself, like lots of Ramtha-derived spiritual language and concepts of her own into the mix. From very early on, Shiny Goodwin, she started posting under the mysterious name she is better known by today, the Dove of Oneness. And right away, people start listening. And probably partly because she liked the attention and didn't want to lose followers, but also probably partly because she kind of knew in her heart, deep down somewhere, that this was all kind of a scam. By 2000, she was claiming insider status, as Mathas will illustrate for us now with a quote from one of her old posts. Here we go.
2 new pieces of info suggest that important strides forward are being made. You are well advised to get ready. I have personally been reprogramming my old ideas about prosperity so that I am ready to wisely steward this great abundance.
Yeah. So if you can't tell from her like completely bearing language, this was basically just blind faith in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. And payoffs were clearly not coming in on time. And Clyde Hood would post these like pre-recorded voice updates that investors could listen to, which would basically like give everybody lip service and kick the can down the lane for 6 years with excuses. And as Goodwin's positivity posts were gaining steam, the official Omega posts were getting scary, and they were getting paranoid and talking about the government's trying to shut us down and powerful financial figures are after us and all this shit. And rather than face the fact they probably just made a horrible scam investment, lots of people with money tied up in this crap just turned to the Dove of Oneness instead, who, like Hodl Gang crypto investors of today, preached a message of calm and patience, and even brought in her own extra religious angle that said group prayer could help speed things along. Did you know that Americans were this weird, guys? Listeners outside of America, did you know we were this weird?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they're aware.
Are you feeling the cosmic horror yet? Dove started talking about white knights and the forces of darkness on their trail, and of a behind-the-scenes war between major European banks and the U.S. Supreme Court, among other forces, and even just started straight up lying and reporting that there were rumors of certain people in certain areas already getting their money, stuff like that. People were more interested in her lore now than they were in the actual updates from the guy running the Omega scam. But with that level of attention comes the burden of needing results. And once she started giving specific dates that things would happen and those dates would just come and go, people started to doubt. But in August of 2000, and as Hood and a bunch of other Omega leadership were indicted by federal investigators, and one of his lieutenants even died from diabetes complications, Dove never let up on the conspiracy, as Jesse will read for us now. Tell me if this post reminds you of anybody's social media presence, by the way.
Tonight we were told by a very high intelligence agency source that this whole thing in Illinois has been staged to try to stop funding. However, this case in Illinois totally lacks any ability to stop funding. It's almost a comedy because the whole case will disappear instantly. Very soon, stay away from the website that has information on this case. You'll be tracked if you go to that website. And absolutely avoid filling out any complaints. You could lose your funding if you do that.
Yeah, so familiar vibes. In the public eye, it seemed like she was never more dedicated to the cause at this point. But in private, it's my belief up to this point that Dove saw these people going down, read the writing on the wall, and then I think she attempted what early ARG players like to call a game jack, which, surprise, is finally where this insanity-causing document comes into play. And so I'll briefly digress from what I was talking about earlier to talk about Harvey Francis Barnard. Barnard was a teacher and an engineering consultant from the beautiful state of Louisiana who held his PhD in systems theory, which he liked to apply to the economy. Here is Mathas with a quote from his obituary to give you some background.
He applied his PhD in systems theory to the economy in his recent published book, Draining the Swamp. He proposed monetary and tax system changes to benefit home ownership and taxpayer fairness.
You ever like watch a movie and you think it's the first one, and then you like go to the video store and you realize it's like the third one? That's where we're at right now in life. Basically, one day he was messing around with formulas and he was daydreaming, and he decided that at his core, the United States economy was not well designed. It was unbalanced. And just to kind of prove that he could, he wrote some new formulas. This guy wrote them into legal language so that the government could use it, turned it into a bill, which he called the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, or NASARA, which he printed 1,000 of. And then he sent that to every member of Congress, right? In reality, this was basically as far as the idea ever got, because nobody ever really bit on it, and he died in 2005. But in the Omegaverse, Dove saw this concept as like a writing prompt and started talking about how actually NASARA was secretly passed by Congress, and that it did all that extra stuff I mentioned earlier, like wipe out taxes, personal debt, shift the backing of the currency, which at the time was her explanation for when we changed our money, which was pretty recent at that time, to color money instead of the like classic American money that, you know, but that no one was allowed to talk about it because of a gag order by the Supreme Court, and that only prayer could help them get the Supreme Court to announce it. And then we would get our money. At first, you know,
Jesse, I'm just watching Jesse have existential anger about the state of the world repeating the same thing.
It's just unfortunate that people fall for the same grift all the time.
The playbook works for a reason.
Yeah,
exactly. At first, you know, when she started using his theories, Barnard liked it because he thought, you know, well, it's not been accepted by Congress yet, but maybe it will. I'm not going to give up on it. And this like new viral thing that was happening was bringing attention to his website. But then he started reading the posts and he saw that she was just adding more and more shit to the lie about what the thing was. There's like no loan forgiveness in it. It like does restructure the banking system a little bit, but it's not anything close to what she's saying it is.
I mean, like that's the gist of most of this, which is I'm expecting you not to ever look it up.
Right. Exactly. Yep. He actually at one point thought that this was the government intervening on his behalf to like discredit his bill for some reason. But in the end, he just realized it was a scam, and he tried his best to like get the word out about what the real NASARA was versus this like conspiracy one. And he tried contacting Dove herself, but she just ignored him. And that summer in 2001, Clyde Hood, the Omega guy, was starting to admit that Omega was just a scam to the authorities, and his followers were catching wind and they were dropping like flies. And as we've talked about on the show before, whenever something like this happens, which destroys a group's belief system, the ones who are left after that are like fucking zealots. Which is why on September 11th, 2001, only a few hours after the terrorist attacks, which literally changed the course of world history, Dove made the post which made her more popular on the world stage than ever before, which Jesse will read for us now.
Cool. So excited. The three targets today were all connected to NASARA and the banking changes. I just learned that at 9 a.m. in New York this morning, there was an important banking activity set to be activated in the IMF International Banking Computer Center in the World Trade Center. This was obviously why the World Trade Center was attacked today at just before and after 9 a.m. The orders for these plane attacks came from U.S. citizens who are trying to stop our deliveries funding and NASARA.
You know what? There's a part of me that's like, you know what? Good for her. Everything's going out. She's in desperation mode, attached to the most traumatic thing that could possibly happen as a Hail Mary. And if it works out, she's going to have a good rest of her life.
Bone Zango, yeah. And from there, like, we just go to straight crazy town. Like, people just changed NASARA into whatever they need to be. One guy tied the fake NASARA announcement to a UFO event, like beneficial UFOs coming. One lady said international beings were like working from behind the scenes to get NASARA past, you know, our reality because it was so good in theirs. Even Sherry Shriner grabbed onto NASARA and looped it into her weird, like, reptilian government conspiracies. And it hasn't stopped to this day. Dove herself passed away in 2010. And around that time is when the movement jumped across the Atlantic to Europe, where instead of Nasara for national, it became Gesara for global. And it eventually transformed into the international version of the QAnon cult before transforming back into a crypto version of the Gesara cult again, once QAnon started to fade away. And yeah, even though Nasara was very real and came from a good academic place with facts and information and concrete ideas, if only you would go read them, somehow filtered through the insanity of the millions of people on the internet, it became something insane, which, going back to cosmic horror for a second, if that's any indicator of how different from anything objective consensus reality might be, maybe it is worth it for rational-minded folks to peer across the veil, because honestly, what could possibly be better right now than relief from all the shit that makes our life hell every day? It's tempting. It's tempting to buy into this type of shit. And when it comes down to it, we don't even really have control over anything.
It's this type of shit is the reason why we're in this hell.
Yeah. This was originally my opening act to the QAnon episode, which I am too scared to make. I feel like I need to wait a little longer.
Not going to do that.
Yeah, I think I need to wait a little longer for QAnon to be fully dead, and maybe a few other things to happen on the political stage before it's.
It might be a few years before we do this.
Yeah, it's not before it's not depressing. But yeah, even though it was good that Nasara was made, you can just see how people's. You know, they say you're only as fast as the slowest one.
Yeah,
there's something to that.
Yeah, there is something to that.
Yeah. Up next, we have a fun Chilluminati sanctioned experiment I'd like to try. This one is called Memorandum 6751. Okay. So yeah, obviously I had lots of ideas for episodes this year that had narrative framing devices involving the Chilluminati. On the one hand, the Chilluminati are definitely the secret organization which operates this podcast behind the scenes and which works to spread vibes throughout the world.
Well, obviously.
But in another way, for me as a writer, they help me create structures and narratives for the episodes out of cold, dry history, and which also exist to let me make larger thematic or philosophical observations, which will deepen your understanding of the topic beyond just the topic itself. You know, that's why I do that. Today, we're going to be trying an exercise that got left off of a script that was first suggested by Agent A. Whitney Brown, called the A/B test, and YouTubers probably know something about what that could be. Here's Mathas with the description from Agent A. Whitney Brown's notes. Here you go.
The A/B test is so simple, even those chuckleheads on the podcast could probably swing it. The idea is just that two completely unrelated primary sources, when read one after the other in close proximity, can change and resonate with each other in meaning, deepening your experience of each beyond a sum of their parts. If that's too complicated for Faciane, tell him that means read the FBI memo himself and then let Cox read the Reddit post. Have an awful day. Sad New Year. Cornerfest sucks. Bring back the sex mysteries. Oh, this is Reddit comments.
That guy is so weird. Agent Brown is one of the weirdest guys.
No, he's onto something.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, I guess I better read this declassified FBI memo then if he says I should. Here we go. 6751, a memorandum of importance, San Diego, California, July 8th, 1947. This memorandum is respectfully addressed to certain scientists of distinction, to important aeronautical and military authorities, to a number of public officials, and to a few publications. The writer has little expectation that anything of import will be accomplished by this gesture. The mere fact that the data herein were obtained by so-called supernormal means is probably sufficient to ensure its disregard by nearly all the persons addressed. Nevertheless, it seems a public duty to make it available. The present writer has several university degrees and was formerly a university department head. A very serious situation may develop at any time with regard to the flying saucers. If one of these should be attacked, the attacking plane will almost certainly be destroyed. In the public mind, this might create near panic and international suspicion. The principal data concerning these craft is now at hand and must be offered, no matter how fantastic and unintelligible it may seem to minds not previously instructed in thinking of this type. 1. Parts of the discs carry crew. Others are under remote control. 2. Their mission is peaceful. The visitors contemplate settling on this plane. 3. These visitors are human-like, but much larger in size. 4. They are not excarnate Earth people, but come from their own world. 5. They do not come from any planet as we use the word, but from an etheric planet which interpenetrates with our own and is not perceptible to us. 6. The bodies of the visitors and the craft also automatically materialize on entering the vibratory rate of our dense matter.
It's all frequency, bro.
7. The discs possess a type of radiant energy or array which will easily disintegrate any attacking ship. They re-enter the etheric at will and so simply disappear from our vision without trace. 8. The region from which they come is not the astral plane, but corresponds to the lokas and talas. Students of esoteric matters will understand these terms, and they are Googleable. 9. They probably cannot be reached by radio, but probably can by radar if a signal system can be devised for that apparatus. We give information and warning and can do no more. Let the newcomers be treated with every kindness. Unless the discs are withdrawn, redacted, with which our culture and science are incapable of, redacted. A heavy responsibility rests upon the few in authority who are able to understand this matter. Pretty standard stuff, I would say. Some key interesting details that are like kind of germane with our current understanding of aliens and UFOs that maybe weren't so common in the 40s, which I think is interesting for a memo from 1947. Now let's have Jesse read the Reddit post suggested by Agent Brown and see if reading these two things one after the other brings us any sort of new thoughts about what we read.
This is from r/meditation. Saturday, April 5th, 2025. I was meditating deeply when I reached a state where I saw myself sitting on snow near a hill. It was quiet, still, and peaceful. As I sat there, a group of very tall, pale beings with long white hair approached me. They looked human, but their height was easily over 7 feet, made them feel otherworldly. They wore light-colored, almost ethereal clothing. Despite their appearance, I wasn't afraid. Their presence felt calm and safe. One of them spoke to me and asked if I would follow them. They said they wanted to show me something. I agreed without hesitation because I felt safe for some reason. They led me to a small, silverish aircraft, smooth and sleek in design. I stepped inside, and soon we were flying. The ship made no sound at all. It lifted effortlessly, and within moments, we had left the planet. As we moved through space, I could feel that we were following a path, like an invisible force was guiding us. Eventually, we stopped just outside of Earth. I could see the planet, and around it was a green, wavy grid-like energy gently pulsing and wrapping the globe. One of the beings turned to me and said, "We are all one. All of us, no matter who we are or where we come from, we are connected." I felt those words deeply, but just as I was taking it in, my cat jumped on me, snapping me out of the vision and back into my room. I thought I'd share it.
That's pretty interesting. What do you guys think Agent Brown was trying to get at between those two things?
I think Agent Brown was trying to remind me of an episode I did recently of Too Old for This, where I watched a guy try to equate No Nut November to retaining your semen and how that gives you power. And his reasoning was he first went to this guy, a guy we've talked about, I can't remember his name right now, but he's talking about mind, like the power of the mind. Now the mind can and then he went, if you can control your mind and you can control your power, then you can control yourself. And if you can control your lust, you can then control the environment around you and then recreate your existence at a higher plane of being. Like the rabbit hole he goes down like to be like, Crowley. Hey boys, don't jerk it. He's so crazy. But when you look at
Crowley was the other way. He ate his cum.
But
so
like he does he puts a graph together, and A to B to C is like one thing, then another thing that is not remotely connected, because they both deal with like the mind. They must be connected. Don't you see?
I love it.
Because it's all connected. You see it? And it's like, no, not really, my friend. That's not how this works.
To me, it's consciousness related.
Yeah.
That's the two things. That's like the two things that feel connected to the two stories is like whatever these things are, meditation. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but like I lean in that direction for reasons. Like I've had weird meditation experiences, not with like beings that look like aliens or anything like that, but like meditation is a funky thing when you do it long enough. Even if you don't do it like every day, like you start to explore. And then when you look at stories of abduction scenarios and stuff, there are weird little similarities to some of these things that leave you wondering, like, maybe there is something to it being consciousness and like the universe, reality itself is like a baseline information consciousness that everything is bubbling up from. And that's like why everybody's quote unquote connected to the idea of a Christ consciousness, a dove of oneness, one might say.
Yes, exactly. A dove of oneness. That's precisely correct. Yeah, I think it's just about like maybe the things that we see on the other side are on the other side of a lot of things. You know?
Yeah, it's not understandable from where we currently sit, whether you want to look at it scientifically of like 3 dimensions or whatever. Like we are just in a position where if these things are real, are unable to be comprehended by us because we are not in a state that can comprehend something like that.
Exactly.
Or
there's nothing
having visions and meditating and putting stuff in your head based on the reality you live in or any media you consumed does not equate to them actually existing.
That's
100% correct.
That's very true. Yeah. But that's kind of the whole point, right? It's like kind of like if you think that they are related, are they related? You know?
No, I swear to God, we have to stress no. If you think they're related, it doesn't matter. No. Because that's how you get dudes going to pizza places and be like, where are the kids? Like, don't. Right. Are you kidding me?
I have to be with Jesse on this one. I just have to. Like, some things are just not.
Yeah, some things are just not connected.
Definitely, that's true. But if you think about Wiley,
I can't stress people who don't have video. As those words were leaving Alex's mouth, I watched Jesse physically get more upset, and I knew we were going to worst part of like. This is why he hates chaos magic so much.
Yeah.
Just think about Wile E. Coyote, right? Think about when Wile E. Coyote's chasing Roadrunner and then suddenly there's no more road, right? And then he takes like 15 more steps out into the sky before he realizes there's no road and he falls, right? There's something that we can empathize with there, right? And it's not
necessarily that's soft disclosure.
No, I'm saying it's not necessarily real. But there's something that we all know what I'm talking about that has to do with things being real when we believe them. And then when we find out they're not real, that's when we realize that they're not real rather than anything else. You know, it's like Santa, how knowing about Santa changes your worldview and finding out what Santa is can affect
a notorious cryptid that we've been trying to hunt for years.
Or listen to people's stories leaving Christianity or Mormonism or Scientology or any other religion where they just realize, like, I don't believe this is not real anymore. It's just over. And then they just can't get back to the same head state that they were in before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the point of that exercise. And Agent Whitney Brown, though he is an asshole, is right. It's interesting how things can resonate with meaning, even if there is no connection between them. Like those things are 90 years apart. No, that person who wrote that probably didn't even read that other memo. You know what I mean? But somehow they both went to another dimension with tall humanoids that took them to a craft and had very similar experiences. That's all I'm saying. And so for today, instead of teasing next episode like I did last time, I wanted to see just how fast I could present one last segment for you guys today. And it's only as long as it needs to be. And I think you guys are going to be happy about it because this one's called The Tits of Tallulah.
Yes.
So I've got an article here, which I found from, from Minisode, which I thought was too good not to expand on just a little, which comes from Wales Online and which tells of a man called Mark Bryan from London. He is 45 years old. He's a retired teacher and he was diabetic and he had just been in for laser eye surgery to remove some scar tissue from diabetic retinopathy, which is where high blood sugar can damage your retinas of your eyes. And the surgery went normal and he had his eye patch on or whatever on the one eye and he had to lay down for a large portion of the day to, take care of his eyes. But when he got home, he was standing in front of the stove making sausages, just like me, when suddenly out of the corner of his right eye, he starts to see a pair of titties appear in his vision. Which just emerged into his vision and then stayed there for 10 straight days. He nicknamed the tits Tallulah, and he said it was like having Pam Anderson pinned to his face. And here's Mathas with a quote.
It was very funny. I felt like such a teenager. I had that poster of Pamela Anderson on my wall when I was younger. This was like having it pinned to my face. My wife kept looking at me like I'd lost my mind. I just kept joking that I was going to run away with Tallulah. To be honest, I thought I might have lost my mind too. Although it was hilarious, it scared the crap out of me as well. It kept popping up and wouldn't go away. It was like 10 days of someone jump scaring me. After that, the image faded.
Imagine that.
Jump scared with tits, but then realizing they're tits. Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Apparently, this is due to something called Charles Bonnet syndrome, which was first recorded by a naturalist and philosopher with that name in 1760, who first noticed it when his grandfather was blinded by a failed cataract surgery and began to see all sorts of strange things. And then later, when he himself lost his sight and began hallucinating himself. Though there's no real explanation for exactly what any one person sees, which I think is kind of the mystery portion of this story, or precisely what it is that brought the tits of Tallulah to Mark Bryan of London. In terms of why we hallucinate when we're blind, it's kind of the same principle as the ping pong ball eye covering experiment. When you play static in your ears, you cover your eyes with two halves of a ping pong ball, and you just start tripping like you're on acid. Just because your brain, which is built for overwhelming amounts of input, when there's none to be had, just starts to fill that shit in itself. And Mark Bryan of London got 10 days of titty jump scares. So that kind of makes you think about just how much power our brains have, doesn't it? So anyway, thank you so much for listening in the minisodes for Cornerfest. I've been doing Rejected Corners, which are short segments like this one that were cut from Cornerfest proper. So go see that now, patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. Next week on Cornerfest, we have a World of Darkness style vampire tale, closure for an old topic we talked about years ago, and the weirdest slice of key lime pie yet. I will see you there. Happy New Year, gang. We are almost around the corner.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside indulging on our porch one night, enjoying ourselves. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I stepped back inside, and after a few moments, I hear my wife go, "Holy shit, get out here." So I quickly dash back outside, and she's looking up at the sky in awe. I look up too, and there's a perfect line of dozen lights traveling across the sky.